CALL stands for Connecting Art and Law for Liberation. The goal of this weekend is to build a real community of artists, activists, advocates, formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated folks to come together and to think critically and creatively about our call to action, which is ending mass incarceration.
When humanity is standing in front of you, it's hard to deny. When you stand in front of a kid, when you say criminals are blah, 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 but then when you come into a facility and you look and there's a 16-year-old looking at you, he's a kid. He's a kid, and if you give him a chance, he'll be a kid. But if you decide that he's otherwise, he'll become otherwise.
I've been in facilities with 13-year-old boys, and my heart just breaks.
I wish people would really think about how they're implicit, how they're involved in this system that is putting young people behind bars when they really shouldn't be.
People make assumptions about who you are based off of, a couple of basic facts about you. How old are you? What color are you? And what do I figure you're worth? And none of those things define who you are. And I think the conversation that we're having here, I think the conversation that I try to have in all my dealings with SAG-AFTRA is trying to remind people those assumptions are false. Those assumptions say more about you than they do about the person that you're judging. I get to make choices now that are going to define who I'm going to be from here. And you're not defined by the choice you made 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago.
It says definitions are for definers and not for the defined.
One thing that every human being wants is for their story to be told. And that story is told, at the end of the day, to the art that you create. How we're represented in media determines how we see ourselves as a nation. And that's really where I come from, is, when there have been papers written about, drawing a direct line from seeing a black president on television to seeing an actual black president. About seeing a women president on television to actually having the first viable female candidate. Those things go back and forth. And in the same direction, it works in reverse engineering. When every perpetrator of a heinous crime is depicted as being brown or black-skinned, as depicted as being a man, then that's reinforced that we believe that that's the case. And in the worst possible scenario, we believe that that's maybe who we are. You know what I mean? That there are young men who think, well, that's who I'm supposed to be. Art is about trying to be your better self. Right now, we're living in a world that is short on empathy. And going back to the idea of art telling your story, right now we're living in a world and people are actively trying to avoid hearing other people's stories. They make an assumption. If I hear you are a Republican, I make decisions about you and I don't want to hear your story. If I hear you're a Democrat, if I hear you're black, if I hear you're gay, if I hear you're, I make decisions about you. And I just wish that people right now stopped and actually listened to that person tell their story. Bottom line, listening is the first step to love.
I'm Danny Glover, and I care about what's happening at this prison, this facility, because these are my children.